everyone. This is Astro Podcast. I am Jody Boots. This is the weekly astrology report for October 25th through November 1st. This upcoming week is completely what we've all been waiting for. What we know is getting ready to happen is now getting ready to happen. Election starts on November 3rd in the USA. The whole world is watching because what happens in America affects the world greatly because we are big time producers of many things in the world. We also trade with other people. So how it goes in America will affect the world trading wise with all our products. The war in Ukraine, the war in Israel. Now that North Korea is sending troops over to help Russia in Ukraine because Ukraine was starting to get a slight edge on the Russian troops because of our help in America. And the Russian people are running out of people to enlist. So we are at that critical juncture that we have been talking about with Pluto at the last degrees of Capricorn, the 29th degree of tears. This is what Molly McCord taught me last week. It's the tears, the degree of tears. So this is the very last time any of us will feel this degree of Pluto in Capricorn as it shifts on November 19th into Aquarius. So a lot of the big problem here that's happening that we've talked about for the past 2 years is the fact that Mars is in Cancer, and Cancer represents the USA. July 4th, 1776, I believe, is the birthday. So, with Mars here already in its pre-shadow period, where it's getting ready to go to nap pretty soon, we are feeling the slowdown, we're feeling the aggravation, where we want to do something, but we really can't because we don't really know what to do because the moon rules over Cancer, and the moon moves quickly around. So wherever the moon is, it's affecting Mars at that time. So like today, the moon is in Leo, so it's affecting Mars to have more confidence and to stand its own ground. But the same thing is that Leo sometimes lacks confidence. So Mars here is waning, waxing, full, new. All these things are happening in the sign of Cancer, which represents the home, the mom, represents security, comfort food, all these things. And so America in particular, the country, is in a huge shakeup, a huge change, and we all know that. We see it, we hear it every day. But so is the world hearing it and seeing it every day. And again, we're one of the longest running democracies or republic in the world. And as such, there's a huge responsibility here in terms of the rest of the world is in a turmoil with communism. And communism has always been a threat because the idea of communism is great. Everyone's equal. Everyone gets the same pay. Everyone's the same. So the idea, the concept is great. But the actual realization of it in politics turns into, well, some of us are a little bit better than you. And so you can see that how there's a lot of really rich communist people that send their kids here to America to go to school. In high school, my sons went to school with people from China. In college, they went to school with kids from China. And so when we're this country that we share things, this is part of the open arms policy of a loving nation that understands that you might not want to be in your own country because your government is so strict and abusive towards human rights. So we give people that chance to come in. Like I got to come in 1976. And so a lot of us that are immigrants really truly understand the patriotism of America, why we love America, because we are from a country where rights are very limited, especially for women. So America helps us to be ourselves. And the problem that's happening now is that the immigrants that came before us that harmed the indigenous people here, that eradicated or actually just dispose of a bunch of tribes that no longer exist, they now have taken over and they are part of the manifest destiny of England and Spain and France. All these countries that went out and colonized people. So, in doing so, this is all during the Mars period of our time, of our life. We're in that Mars thing, right? So, Mars being in Cancer for the USA is bringing up all those things, especially as Mars starts a retrograde. There's a inner pain in America of the way America became America and how they had slaves to build America and how we're trying to fix that. But in doing so, we are unable to get the majority of the people in America who are white right now, and most of them are Anglo Saxons. They're WASP, they're Catholics, they're evangelical people, and they're very upset with people like me in America. And so this is what we're dealing with in the world. We dealt with this 100 years ago in World War One, World War Two, and it's not a mistake it's happening again because the war that started World War One, World War Two, all happened in Europe, Eastern Europe, and now it's happening again in Eastern Europe, the eastern part of Ukraine where Russia invaded. And now that it's gotten that part of Ukraine that goes into the sea so they can have their trade and have their little luxury, nice beaches over there, they want more of Ukraine. So the way it's looking is that we're headed for a war, and a lot of foreign entities have entered America that are wanting us to fall because they want to balance out the world. They don't want to be the bad guys, and no one wants them to be a bad guy. No one's telling them to go into war. No one's telling them to be greedy. No one's telling them to go get their neighbor's treasures. So we are at a really critical point, and a lot of us in America that I see aren't are really involved in politics or not involved at all. And the people that aren't involved want to show a facade of happiness happening in America where this doesn't affect my life. But that's not the case because we know from past wars that it will affect your life in some way. And so you should get involved and vote. And the clarity that's happening now is non existent for a lot of people. And again, that has to do with Pluto in Capricorn because these traditional values, these values that have been held for so long that got them to where they are starting to fall apart, which is okay, you massacred people to get your land. Now you want to hold back rights from people, and you made it so that the Supreme Court is too conservative and has repealed things and is now leading towards a fascist communist type of country where the president has total anonymity to do what he wants and say things that he wants. So, with that underlying thing there, we really have to say, well, what kind of president do we want then? Are we going to want a president that can be a dictator because the Supreme Court will support him and the House will support him? And it's a very confusing, in depth situation that's a lot of moving parts to it. And that again comes down to Pluto in Capricorn. But Saturn in Neptune is also there, and Saturn's preparing to nap pretty soon. And Saturn's also meeting up with um, Venus in Sagittarius during this new moon on November 1st in Scorpio. And when Saturn meets up with Venus the day after the new moon, Saturn is trying to say to Venus, according to Molly McCord, is that you are too excessive, Venus. You are a billionaire and you still want more and more. And then when you become a billionaire, you decide to pimp out people. You decide to use your power to sexually abuse women, to lie. And the same thing that's going on with some of the religious groups that are backing former President Trump. They want religion and government to be partners. And that is clearly why America was formed, to not have religion enter into our politics, because that's what ruined Europe. Now, these are all historical things that you can go and do research on. But again, now we're talking about people that have education, that have knowledge. So that's where the world is also advancing your knowledge. And that's what we're seeing in our world right now. A lot of people can't connect these dots. They're being easily led into a situation that they don't really understand or know what's going on. So what we're trying to do here is not be fixed on one person being a leader. As time goes on into Pluto heading into Aquarius, Aquarius is the sign of people, the sign of the union, the sign of sports teams, the sign of group activity. Not so much the structure, which is Capricorn, of government. Now we're heading into the government for the people, not just the government itself as an institution. Oh my God, it's great. Now we're seeing, how is this government helping the people? How is this man or this woman who's going to be president going to help the people of the whole world? Because people really depend on America to set the stage for peace. When America entered World War II, it ended. So that's where we're at. And the fact that Saturn will connect to Venus, I believe it's on November 4th or 6th, we're going to see that karma is here. And if you've been living right by yourself, by your people, everything should be fine. But if you have anything hidden in your closet, now's the time to get that out. Because if you don't want something to come out about yourself, and particularly certain things, you might want to release that somehow. Write on a piece of paper, burn it, and let it fly away at the new moon. These are things that we're talking about individually and also worldly, globally, cosmically. Now, the thing is that Pluto is a dwarf planet. The dwarf planets are very far out and they move very slowly. There's other dwarf planets involved. When dwarf planets show up in the graph, in the circle of life, they affect us tremendously. And Chiron is one of those comets that's a healer. And his wife Chariklo is also involved. So when Chariklo and Chiron are involved, we are being asked to heal ourselves through what we know is right, what we know is wrong, and to release it and to forgive yourself and understand. Everyone has done wrong, but you must acknowledge it and forgive yourself and never do it again. Everyone has this chance in life. That's what the cosmic energy is supporting you right now, is to change for the better, to level up your intelligence, to level up your intuition, and to believe in your intuition, to have faith that the cosmic realm is here to support us. As a matter of fact, this new moon in Scorpio, opposite of Pluto in Capricorn, Molly McCord is saying it is a cradle, a baby cradle, because there's two other supportive trines going on at the same time that can help us really feel good that we're changing and releasing things. Now, it's very difficult, that I found, for most people in my life are very stuck. They are stuck in their way of believing. These are things that we will be really deep diving into the next 19, 20 years coming up. And so right now, everything is slow moving. Most of the outer planets are retrograde. They won't be awake, all of them, until January 6th. And then a lot of the personal planets, especially Mars, is getting ready to go retrograde. That your mind has to completely be off its rocker to kill your parents and your siblings too. On December 6th until February 24, 2025. So that is a 6 month long transit of Mars in Cancer, entering Leo till 6 degrees, then retrograding all the way back to 17 degrees of Cancer. So this is a very, very big deal because, according to Susan Hopkins, that I listen to also, she's a mundane astrologer. She talks more about world affairs because she used to work for the UN. Mars here in Cancer retrograde, she says, is very dramatic because Mars, again, doesn't like to be in Cancer, but Cancer is a water cardinal sign. So Mars here is very dramatic because, again, the moon rules our emotions. So Mars right now is an emotional Mars. So it doesn't like it. It's passive aggressive, and we can see that happening in the world. I spoke about this last week, and this week I hope you saw that what I was speaking about. There's a lot of stuff happening that's really odd, like the young man who's 15 who murdered all of his family. Well, that's it for this week. That's super busy. I will be releasing some videos this week on my podcast page, Astro, on my Instagram and Twitter. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you next week. Bye bye.